I hope you brought your umbrella today, for there's a forecast of blood and body parts today as we go back to Thugtown in Guns, Gore, and Cannoli 2. So, first thing, story. Spoilers to the first story, the first game, so FYI. So, the game opens up years later after the original game. Vinnie Cannoli escapes Thugtown and escapes any punishment being blamed for anything that happened now, as the rest of the world doesn't know what happened to Thugtown, as he was the only known survivor of the whole incident. Vinny gets to go back to his life, but soon he gets dragged back into everything as he gets kidnapped, and as a new thug, the Dark Dawn demands him alive. Vinny Cannoli escapes, and he goes on his quest to find out why all of a sudden everyone wants Vinny Cannoli. Now, the game has changed quite a bit from the original. Well, aesthetically, artistically, music, setting, and everything, and the humor, the great humor of all remained same. Much of the gameplay was changed up a bit. Some of the button layouts, as in jumping, throwing, and such, have been changed. Throwing has been completely actually thrown out. There are no longer grenades or Molotovs. However, you do get a grenade launcher eventually in the game that will act out as your grenades, but still, I'm not really sure what the decision on getting rid of grenades and Molotovs are. The camera is a little more zoomed out, and you're able to aim all around you as opposed to just left and right as you could in the original. The reason for this, in particular, the zoom out and the being able to aim everywhere, in my opinion, is because the game has a greater focus on guns. This time you're going to be going up against a lot more thugs, mafia, and eventually soldiers in World War II. And the zombies take a back seat, as zombies are still in the game as you'll go through different parts of the game, finding out the zombies are being still used by some factions, but they take a secondary role where they were a main role, and thugs were a secondary obstacle in the original game. So the greater focus on guns, it makes sense to take a greater focus on being able to aim at units, as there are many times where you will be heavily ganged up on. Just like the original, it is 4-player, but unlike the original, it has online, which is fantastic because SharePlay sucks. SharePlay is a horrible way to play things unless you have really good internet, and good luck being in good place with good internet. But it does have online, which is fantastic. Sadly, there isn't a very active player base for the game, but it still functions and everything. I played through the game with Dan, so that's all cool and dandy on that front. But you'll progress through the game, trying to slowly gather clues on what's going on as Vinny gets sent around to find out who the Dark Dawn is and return to Thugtown and find out that the Nazis are using the zombie bows for their own needs during the war. And so, you go along your journey, shooting, banging, exploding things. And as much as you've lost grenades and Molotovs, there are still plenty of things to shoot that will explode on impact, along with some objects you can have, fallen enemies and such. Overall, though, the game does play a lot like its original, except a more step forward in most capacity. It still has a lot of feel from the first game, even though it added new stuff into the game. I kind of don't like how it's zoomed out, but like I said, I understand why it likely was done for multiplayer and the greater focus on guns. I feel like those were reasons to do that, but that's just me. What's also nice if you play multiplayer, at least online, I'm not sure about local, but online, you don't have to wait for the other player. You can go way off the screen continuing in the stage, so you're not bound to the screen of the host, which is a nice thing. I don't know if locals like that. Probably is, but unlike online where, you'll have your own camera, you'll probably just go off screen and be like, can't see anything or something. Probably would be my guess for local. I liked the game very much, and I definitely recommend it if you like side-scrolling shooting up. It's humorous, funny and hilarious. It's a good, bloody good time. Few new guns and that, but overall, it's a lot more, just more cannoli. More cannoli. Still follows the same kind of setup, having checkpoints, cannoli healing and that. Some of the drawbacks, in my opinion, though, are secrets. There's a lot less secrets. There's a few Easter eggs, a few nods to the original game and stuff, but when it comes to finding secret stashes, hardly found any in this game. There were tons of them in the first game, and I feel like that's real shame, because you get, like, you keep looking and hardly find anything, and it really disencourages you from looking around a lot extra, which is a bit of a shame. It could have been because they might have just wanted to focus more on level design, maybe, but I liked it exploring around. You got rewarded for it in the first game, and I don't feel like that's the case in this one. Another thing that I didn't like about this one is there are so many closet doors. Now, these existed in the first game, but I don't remember them being so numerous and you coming into them constantly and then be like, oh, nothing in here. It's like 2 feet in, nothing in here, walk out, continue the stage a little while, and then like 5 to 10 units will come, running out of it right there on screen. Not even off screen, but right there on screen where you can see them coming out, and it feels really odd to me. It's a minor complaint, but it's just kind of like I was literally in there, and there was no one in there, and all of a sudden like 5 guys come jumping out. It's very annoying. And there are times where I just go in, like nothing's coming out, I go in and then units spawn in there while I'm in there. And again, it disencourages you to explore to find secret catches. And there are a few, but not as many in my opinion as the first game. And that just feels like an odd design choice in my opinion, but outside of that, it retains a lot of the original game's charm, aesthetics, and humor. I definitely recommend it if you like side-scrolling shooting and that. I'd say it's about the same length as the original game. Now, value. What would I say the value with this game is? The original game was $9.99 across the board. So, I would give this one its value, in my opinion. I would probably go around $10 myself. A few extra dollars is all right. So I would call it even, because I like to try and keep the price tags a little, closer around an even number. But technically the game goes for $12.99 across the board on all platforms. If you want to get this physically, as I said, it's $12.99 on all platforms. It is available DRM free on GOG along with the original. But if you want the physical version that I got from Strictly Limited Games, well, you got 2 options. So Strictly Limited Game released 2 versions of this game. There's the PlayStation 4 version, which is just Guns, Gore, and Cannoli 2 on the disc. This is going around, let's see, currently there is a bid for $39. There are some buy it nows or best offers, $50, $68, $74, $75, $78, $79. So got some pretty high price tags. Probably would try to do some best offers probably on some of those. I probably wouldn't really justify this game being higher than $29.99 physically, honestly. It is a fun game. I think it's maybe worth having in your collection for a decent price, but as with a lot of games, it's pretty hard to justify the really, really high price tags a lot of scalping scum do on these. What is probably the better thing to get, however, is the dual pack for the Switch. So, when Strictly Limited Games first started, they were only doing PS4 games. And later they would start doing some Switch stuff. So Guns, Gore, and Cannoli 1 didn't get a Switch release in the beginning of their company. So with Guns, Gore, and Cannoli 2, they made it a dual pack where it's 1 and 2 on the cartridge. This, in my opinion, is definitely the better deal to go if you're being forced to buy it secondhand physically, because these are both sold out, so you can no longer get them from strictly limited games. Sadly, because of this, it seems Scalping Scum decided, let's go high on the price tag. So it looks like a lot of Switch prices are in the 90, 100, though there was one that was $78, which could be a little more justifiable because there was at least 2 games on there instead of just 1, but boy, there's a lot of freaking ass copies for way too much money. On top of that, there was a collector's edition that was also released by Strictly Limited Games. This collector's edition, again, is very expensive. All the ones on eBay are over $100. So, if you want to go that route, well, good luck on that. Good luck on that if you want to go that way. 210? My goodness, scalpels are fucking out of their minds, I tell you. But, like I said, is DRM free? That's probably the better and cheaper route to go if you're concerned about owning the game, honestly. But it's available on GOG, Steam, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation 4, so I recommend checking it out. So, that's a fair matching price in my opinion, but to keep it in an even sense, I'd probably go with $10, but $1 or $2 or more is not going to be some in-game break on this. I think this is a fair price overall. It's very enjoyable. Again, it has online this time, which allows you to find some people to play with, and I can only imagine the hectic craziness with 4 people hopping around with everything going on. Ooh, yes, I can imagine, especially with some of the new zombie types they made. But, let's get into spoilers, shall we? So, what do we find out of great significance throughout the journey? Gore Cannoli, like I said, will eventually enter into World War II combat and fight up against Nazis, as you find out that this Dark Dawn's selling the booze that Frankie made back in Thugtown to the Nazis in for profits of some kind. But even the Nazis want you alive. The Dark Dawn want you alive, and the Nazis want you alive. Is unknown why exactly. But eventually you'll fight through all the Nazis and the destruction, and you'll eventually make it to the Dark Dawn's lair. Well, you will find a very old friend, Frankie. Which the game does absolutely nothing to explain how he lived. Because, if you go back to the Force game, you kicked him out of a blimp when the town was filling up with a deadly gas. Though the game does mention he built his new empire in Thugtown, so at least that part makes sense. But there's never an explanation how Frankie survived falling, let alone living in a gas-filled town, temporary gas-filled town, along with it having zombies, because apparently the zombies weren't affected by the gas, just the people, so. But Frankie explains that you were deemed to be immune to the virus that caused the zombies. So, hence, everyone wants your blood. Because you are, in their opinion, a walking vaccine cure to it. And with your blood in his hand, he would be the only one who could cure the virus. It's starting to get a little Resident Evil-y, ain't. But, of course, Cannoli, being the asshole that he doesn't care about anyone, decides, you know what? Time to die, Frankie. And you go on a nice final boss fight with Frankie again. Last time you fought him in a giant blimp. This time, he flies around in a flying ship thing. And you slowly disintegrate until you get on, throw him into the grinder, and make your way out of his stupid facility on a flying saucer, crashing at Roswell. Well, I guess we know the story behind Area 51 now. I don't know if there's space for a third game. I'd love to see a third game, but I don't know what they would make it about, considering he's in America now, in the area that would soon house Area 51, the most alien-driven filled landscape in the world. But, and plus, if it decided to go in an alien route, it would be totally going a very middle slug style kind of game. I'm not really sure if there's any odds of seeing a third game, honestly, though, because I'm not really sure what kind of story they would be able to go that way, because Aliens definitely seems really random to just bring up in the third one. But I'd like to see Gore Cannoli making a little eventual. I enjoyed the games. They're nice, they're fun, and they're enjoyable, and they're definitely a blast with people. But they're still a blast even by yourself. I have fun. I like the silly little world. You don't get to see all the silliness too often these days. Everything, especially in the Western world, has to be serious constantly, so it's a nice little funny take on the time. But that's what I think of Gore Cannoli 2. I'd say check it out if you like side-scrolling shooting up games. Need some multiplayer? Sure. There you go. Grab it. And those are my thoughts on Gore Cannoli 2. And until next time, hopefully Vinny Cannoli won't end up in any probing situations in his next adventure.